All right, this lesson is on decimals and percents and being able to convert from a decimal to a percent and a percent to a decimal. Before we start, I have to give you a little bit of background information. We've talked a lot about decimals, but this is the beginning part of percents. So a couple things you need to know about percents. You don't have to write this down. I'll let you know when you need to start writing down notes. But just so you know, percent is based on 100. The word percent actually means per 100. Okay, actually means per 100. So a percent is a ratio that compares a part to a whole using the number 100. So for example, if I say 85% of the people like candy, that means that 85 out of every 100 that I surveyed liked candy. So it's always out of 100. Okay, so we're always looking at out of 100. So if I want to go from a decimal to a percent, because it's based on percent, I'm basically going to multiply that decimal by 100. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a couple of these, and you don't have to write this down, but I want to see if you start to see a pattern. All right, so I'm just going to do these real quick. All right. So I count my decimal places, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so 100 times 37, that would be 37%. Okay, let's go to this one. Multiply, so that's 0, 8. And move my decimal one place. So 8 tenths times 100, that would be 80%. Okay, that's 0, 0, 3. And I have 3 decimal places, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So 100 times 123 thousandths would be 12.3%. So are you seeing any kind of pattern? So I went from a decimal of 37 hundredths, and that became a 37%. 8 tenths, I changed that to a percent, and it became 80%. 123 thousandths became 12.3%. Are you seeing a pattern here? Any kind of pattern? Okay. Hopefully you see something with the decimal. Okay. Percent is based on 100. So if you look, do you notice I just basically moved my decimal 2 places, and that became 37 because my decimal's right there, percent. I moved my decimal 2 places, 1, 2. I had to fill that spot with a 0, so that's 80%. I moved my decimal 2 places, 1, 2, so that's 12.3%. Okay? We're multiplying by 100, which means we're basically moving our decimal 2 places to the right because we're becoming a percent. All right, so now here's what I want you to write down. So going from a decimal to a percent. All right, you can write out that you're multiplying by 100 because it's based on percent, but really what you're doing, this is what you're doing, but because you're multiplying by 100, you're basically just moving that decimal 2 places to the right. Remember, you're moving it to the right because you're getting bigger. Your percent is getting bigger. Okay, so pause the video and go ahead and write those down. All right, now here are 3 examples. I want you to write these down on your notes, and this is what I'm going to check in the morning. All right, have a great, oh no, I take that back. We're gonna go to the next part. There's more to this video. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so if I'm going from a decimal to percent and I'm moving my decimal 2 places to the right, what do you think will happen if I'm going from a percent to a decimal? What do you think will happen? All right, so if I'm going from a percent back to a decimal. Does anyone have it? Ding, 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 ding. All right, so you should, if you're going now from a percent to a decimal, you're going to then move that decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so let's say my percent is 34%. So if I'm going to move the decimal 2 places back to the left, so again, you have to ask yourself, where is that decimal? It's right here. So if I move it 2 places, 1, 2, so now that would just be 34 hundredths. Okay. If my, let's say I had 153%. So let's say I have something over 100. So again, move that decimal 2 places. If the decimal's not shown, it's right there. Move it 2 places. 1, 2. So that would be 1.53. So 1 and 53 hundredths. And be very careful if you just have a single percent. So let's say 2%. 2%. When I move that decimal 2 places, 1, 2, it becomes 0.02 hundredths. So 2 hundredths. Okay, so be careful with that. If you have, let's say, a decimal in the percent, so let's say you have 1.3%, which would be very low percent. Remember, always start where that decimal is. So move it 2 places, 1, 2. So that would be 0.013. Okay? So write down a couple of these examples. Go ahead now and write down the steps. So to go from a percent to a decimal, you're going to move the decimal 2 places to the left, and then you're going to take off the percent sign. Make sure you take off that percent sign because it's no longer percent. We're wanting it to be a decimal. Okay, so go ahead and write down that, pause the video, and then come back when you're finished, and then do these 3 examples. So make sure and do those 3 examples, and I will check them in the morning. All right, have a great day.